the present tense I find almost negligible, as you will also use it way more frequently, but the preteritum and especially the perfect is the one that is important. Yeah, question mark means how should I actually remember this? Now, there is a way to make this, see if you don't prepare, no problem. So you created the way to change these patterns. Look at 1 and 2, UA and AE, and you change them to USA and barrel. And you do the same for all 7 patterns. You give them a concrete form. The USA is something the app works can. We talk about it later. We can talk about it. So the USA is something you can easily imagine. You could simply imagine Donald Trump if you like. It's a very memorable mnemonic, but you have to remember he stands for the USA and not for Donald. Yeah. And barrel, lasso, anaconda is a kind of snake, hopefully internationally known, and Inca, a Saudi, like a guy from Saudi Arabia, and a polo player. You could also take the car, but the polo player is easier. So these mnemonics will help you, and I go through this on the next slides, don't worry about it. They will help you to remember the patterns. And if you can't see it now already, you will become clear. Yeah. There is this is kind of a fake logic, which will help you to remember that once a verb like fahren, which is fuhr in Präteritum, is associated with the USA, you know that, oh, in Präteritum, it should be you because of USA. And gefahren, the perfect form, needs an A in the stem because of the A in the USA. Yeah, that's the logic. So we've created this and it helps us. And it's very concrete because you can visualize it. Yeah, thumbs up, good thing. So let's take a look at this. Don't put any effort into it, just follow my lead, my voice. So all you have to do, if you see the word USA and the app or my course shows you, and my course, by the way, doesn't rely on the app, it will also show you these. It tells you, you have to associate, you bring together the word to drive, which is fahren, with the image of USA. So try to imagine a USA American driving a fancy car, like a US car, you know, they're very fancy and big and stuff, right? Any car you want. And in the app, for example, you will find something like this. You see that image? You could also make your own. You could have him ride a ridiculous car or a Hummer, anything that rocks your boat. Yeah? And that image, don't do anything. You've seen it now, associated with driving. So remember, this is driving, not car. It's about driving. Let's go through the other 6 patterns quickly. A barrel and sitzen. Sitzen, which you see here as saß, gesessen, is to sit, as you can see in the mnemonic. Imagine a Bavarian sitting on a barrel. Ideally, when you read imagine, you close your eyes and you just try to imagine it. What does it mean to imagine? To imagine is not to have a very crystal clear image like a painter, yeah, like an artist. I don't do that. I don't see that. What happens is, if I tell you to close your eyes and remember your mother, whatever comes up then, that's remembering. That's imagining, actually, remembering. They're related. They're not the same. So if you can kind of imagine your mother, you can imagine anything in the same manner. Yeah, and it might be more a cozy feeling, might also be the opposite. Depends on your mother, right? So if you imagine a Bavarian sitting on a barrel, or for example, this illustration, you know, oh, sitting is connected to a barrel. Bavarian is irrelevant. Yeah, I just took it. Next one, speeding up. A lasso is what the cowboys use to catch the cows, right? So imagine the beginning of a lasso, because the verb here is to begin, as you might have already deducted from looking at the past forms. It's pretty close to English. Yeah. So how does the beginning of a lasso look? Well, in German, it looks like this. This yellow thing is the beginning of a lasso. It goes into infinity. And this kind of waymark is, imagine there's a written start on it. You might have a better image. Yeah? Yeah, fantastic. I actually have the buyer in the translation, but I have to work with English words because this app, this technique works without you having to learn the German word. And this is key. The words you learn when you need them. So I'll give you an example in a minute. So in anaconda and standing, yeah, stehen. You don't have to understand stehen. You don't have to remember that stehen is the German word for to stand in order to learn the past forms. Of course, you want to and you will, but this technique is not about that. It's not a word learning technique because words you learn in context, and that's very crucial because then you remember them much better. So here you have an archaeologist, which also plays fine into the change. But imagine an archaeologist, I think I looked it up, standing on top of an anaconda. Yeah, give it a second yourself. And ideally with closed eyes. You can't really, it's not as strong if you imagine things with open eyes. So this is an example. Imagine he stands on top of her. Yeah, in German that's feminine, die Anaconda. And you're done. So he's standing. Now, Inca, I think it's written with C in English. In German it's with a K, so you learn a little bit. Viel gefallen. Gefallen contains fall, which is the meaning of to fall, yeah, or fallen. So imagine an Inca that is falling. Give it a couple of seconds. We are almost through. It's a clumsy Inca, yeah, stumbled over something. He's falling, not stumbling. It's very important. Inca is falling, and that gives us a hint, I and A. Now the Saudi and zwang, there are also nicer verbs that are associated with the Saudi, don't worry. Imagine a Saudi forcing another Saudi. Yeah, let's say forcing to jump somewhere. And, you know, Saudis are people like all other people, so they also force other people. So imagine a Saudi forcing another Saudi, for example, like this. Yeah, and the bad guys are always clad in black for whatever reason. In other cultures, it's a more positive color. The illustrator had this vision, it seems. So you don't have to remember zwang. The word zwang is irrelevant to you at this point. All you have to remember is to force someone in German changes according to the Saudi pattern. So once you learn zwingen, you know in the past it's zwang, gezwungen. Very beautiful. Last one. And by the way, the translation is always here on the top in the yellow bar. Polo. Polo is short for polo player. And here we have schoss, geschossen. If you remember what I said before, it means to shoot. You see, I didn't upgrade the yellow bar. It's a lousy presentation, my apologies. But I hope you get it anyhow. It's really a teaser more than a solid training. Imagine a polo player shooting his horse. Not too nice. You don't have to go into too much detail and leave the blood away. But if you like, go for it. All splatter. There's the horse. There's a shooter. Yeah, so the polo player is shooting his horse because, you know, it's old, it's suffering, wants to liberate the horse from its pain. Yeah. And that's it. Now let's take a look at what this little run through already did to you. I just took the 7 patterns. There is 80 verbs, core verbs that you need. There's more, but with these 80 verbs you will learn with my app or my course, you can actually master thousands, and I show you how. Yeah, this is just the technique. I love the technique. The idea I found in plenty of books, but I actually streamlined it. I perfectioned it. It is beautiful this way. Now let's take a look. So you have on the left, I've given you the German words because this is not about learning the vocabulary. The translation is next to it. I want you to take a minute and maybe write in the chat. You can type 7 words under each other or next to each other. I don't care. I'll give you a minute or two to remember the mnemonic that's associated with these verbs. So if you hear to drive, what was the mnemonic? Type it first on your PC, and once you have all 7, click enter so everyone sees the results at the same time. Don't look at the chat. If you hear to sit, what was associated with sitting? Was it a Saudi? Was it a US American? Was it a polo player? Was it a barrel? Was it a lasso? What was it? Yeah. So go through these 7 and give yourself this minute and write them down. Let me just to see how much already stuck. If nothing stuck, you're all fine. You will have a chance to redeem yourself and do it again. Yeah, go on, do all 7 at once. You don't have to write the whole sentence, Bavarian sitting on a barrel. Just write barrel. That was the mnemonic. That was the key word we used to make the pattern concrete and memorable. And you haven't, hopefully, and very likely, you haven't put any effort into remembering these images that I just walked you through. You just were exposed to them once for a few seconds and had to listen to me talk. And that is not really making much effort. Once you put a little bit of more effort into it, this is even easier. Yeah? Come, a few more. More. I don't even know how many people are here, actually. I can't see it at the moment. Yeah? Share the hell out of this. See what you remember just from listening to me. If you haven't listened and haven't watched the presentation, then it's almost impossible. Yeah? Make yourself proud. I'm proud already. $160 people. Thank you, Duncan. Okay, good. I'm happy with that. So let me reveal the mnemonics. You can compare yourself, but you already know you're right. Yeah, it's unlikely that any of what you wrote, I couldn't see any spontaneous mistake, is wrong. So take a look at this. And again, remember, it took us 3 minutes to go through all 7 patterns or words. And there's 80 of these. So imagine it takes you 10 seconds per. It's 800 seconds. That's roughly 10 minutes. But then you have to practice it a bit. So if you do it in 2 hours, you'll be fine. And do it another hour a week or 2 later for repetition. And you should be okay. Yeah, and the app also provides you with a few more practices. And we are currently updating the app. The whole user interface will be optimized, and I will add another test whether a verb is using haben or sein. At this moment, it is not in there. It will take us another 2-3 months. Now, you have the mnemonics. Could you try, and I want to give you this time because it's beautiful if you do. Yeah, if you can because you're on a mobile or somewhere, fine. Could you try to write down the preteritum and the perfect now? There's a few that are a bit difficult, but most of these you will almost get 100% correct. Yeah? The biggest problem is sitzen, which changes a lot, and stehen. The others you should get 98% correct. And sitzen and stehen, if you get the change correct, that's all you need for today. Write them on a piece of paper so that you can compare. You don't even have to share with me here in the chat. Yeah, so for example, for fahren, USA, preteritum would be, and what would be the perfect? Karan, you don't need, you could do this even if you haven't heard a word in German. If you understood this technique, so you just take fahren and you change the A against a U. And you have to cut out the EN, but you can also leave it then. It's the plural form. Who cares? So you just change the vowel A that you see in the infinitive on the left, fahr, for the letters U and A. U stands for preteritum, A for perfect. That's it. You don't need to have learned a single word or logic in German. It's as simple as that. That's the beauty of it. Don't be stunned by things that you think you haven't done yet. Yeah? So this shouldn't take too long, so you will have enough opportunity to practice it. Let's take a look at preteritum and perfect. So preteritum, take a look. And I hope you get this idea that you don't have to understand anything actually, except that you'd exchange the A for the U and the A, or the I or the E. It's beautiful, it's simple. You can do that. And if it's not clear right now, you go through the app again, the video, I'll explain it in a bit more time, take more time, and you will get it. And if you don't get it the second time, you try a third time or fourth time until you get it. This is life-changing for you. Yeah, and if you are A1, it doesn't matter. Why not? It's a 2-hour side job on the weekend. Now take a look at the perfect, and I hope you got this pretty much spot on. Yeah, the only thing, as I said, is sitzen, which is not so logical, and fallen. These are the more irregular verbs, but there are no crazy uncles. It's really basically that. Yeah. Amy, ich muss fahren has nothing to do with the past. Yeah, that's the infinitive. The infinitive is peanuts. The infinitive is just what you learn in the dictionary on the course. The infinitive doesn't require any thinking. It requires you to learn the word. That's absolutely true. Yeah. Good. Let's go one further. And again, this is just tiny part of what you actually look at. There's another problem you have. I told you there's 3,000 of those, and I actually went a little bit through my memory how many words of gehen with gehen are there. So I only found 53, but I think I somehow deleted 2 or 3. There might be 55 variants, or not variants, words, verbs, action words that use gehen in their words. I talk about that later, actually. Yeah. And that's madness. And good news for you, as a beginner, you don't need that many. And some of those that use like words like herein, heraus, once you learn herein, heraus, there's no effort needed. Most of these are pretty predictable or understandable once you encounter them. So there's only a few that you need in A1 and a few more in A2. Nevertheless, let's say these are all the words you learn until you become a native speaker. Yeah, that's madness if you had to learn all these, if they had a different past tense, but you already might have an idea where this is heading. Nehmen has a few variants less, and sprechen even less, but still 16 words with sprechen. All these we can reduce to 1. Yeah, take a look at gehen. I just took the first 16, and you see here the ging, they all use the same past tense. Isn't it beautiful? So when someone says German has so many past irregular verbs, you just say, yeah, but most of them are just bullshit. They're just, there's nothing. It's easy. You learn gehen, you know all variants of gehen. There's no exception. Yeah. And who was it that asked, highlight mouse code? Thank you, Steve. I have some limitation with the software though, and normally I have it animated that you can only see one thing. So someone asked, no, it's more than 69. In the app there is 79. It's actually 80. We found another one. Wait, where was the question? Plenty of endlessness. The question is, why not, for example, number 8, begehen. You see, there is no GE. Beging is logical, but there is no begegangen. That's something you also learn in the app. The cause of this is the be, which is an inseparable prefix. It's a different topic I don't want to bother you with here. That you learn in the course as you come. If you say begegangen, that's fine for a while. You quickly learn you can save energy by just saying begangen. So the be is so attached to the begehen, that it doesn't allow the extra GE to squeeze between the be and the gangen. That's the reason. The same with 16 and ging and gangen. Be and ent are inseparable prefixes. And how to learn these easily, that's another topic, and it doesn't take you long. It takes you an hour at max, and then you know it for life. So here are the 3 forms that are valid for all 53 or let's say 55 forms, derivations of gehen. And you do the same for sehen and for nehmen. So this is how you reduce roughly 3,000 to 80. And if you want to find out 2 more beautiful tricks that will help you instantly create the past forms of a special group of verbs, actually 2 special groups of verbs, please scan this QR code that leads to my blog. At the very bottom of the blog, before the comments begin, you find a link to the iOS version and to the Android version of my Irregular Verb app. It's free. Yeah, I will make it paid at one point. Not for you if you download it now, but I think I invested so much money in it. It's time someone paid for it. Yeah. So use your camera on your smartphone. If you don't find it, I type it in the chat in a minute. The app will repeat everything I said in a calm manner and clear manner as well. Nice videos in there, and it will give you opportunities to test whether you remember the mnemonic, whether you actually know how to create the past form, the preteritum, and the perfect form. It will give you a little score, and there is a couple of more bonus tricks in there, which are just beautiful. One is what I call the mirror verbs. Yeah, very simple. Bye-bye game. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. If you really want to learn German properly, and actually it will not all be mnemonics. Mnemonics are only a tiny part of what I do, because mnemonics only make sense for stuff like this, stuff that is a pain in the ass to learn by heart. And with Smarter German, there is no such pain anymore, because there is mnemonics for that painful part, and the other things are taken care of in an intelligent manner.